6 months ago, I had $8.34 in my bank account. $8. That was all that stood between me and complete disaster. Rent was overdue. My phone was about to get cut off. I was eating instant ramen twice a day. And every night I went to bed wondering if tomorrow would be the day I'd have to move back in with my parents. I was 25 years old, I had a college degree, I had dreams, but none of that mattered because I was broke. Completely, utterly broke today. 6 months later, I make over $10,000 a month from my laptop. No boss, no office, no fancy corporate job, and no, I didn't get lucky. I didn't win the lottery. I didn't have rich parents bail me out. I just made one decision. One single decision that changed everything. This is that story. And if you're struggling right now, if you're broke, stuck, or just tired of barely surviving, this might be the most important 15 minutes you ever spend. Let me show you exactly how I went from $8 to $10,000 a month in 6 months. Let me take you back to where this really started. 6 months ago, I was working part-time at a call center. $9 an hour, 20 hours a week if I was lucky. That's about $700 a month before taxes. My rent was $650. Do the math. That left me with $50 for the entire month. $50 for food, gas, phone bill, everything. I was surviving on peanut butter sandwiches and whatever I could find on sale. I stopped going out with friends because I couldn't afford it. I stopped dating because I was embarrassed. I even stopped answering calls from my dad because I didn't want to admit how badly I was failing. Every single day felt the same. Wake up, feel anxious. Check my bank account, feel more anxious. Go to work, come home exhausted. Scroll through social media and watch everyone else succeed while I was stuck in the same place. I'd see people from high school buying houses, getting promoted, traveling, living life. And I was sitting in my tiny apartment eating ramen, wondering what I did wrong. I did everything I was supposed to do. I went to college. I got the degree. I applied to jobs, hundreds of jobs. I went to interviews. I smiled. I was professional. I followed up. And still nothing. Just rejection after rejection after rejection. The worst part wasn't even being broke. The worst part was feeling invisible. Like the world had moved on without me and I was just stuck, watching from the sidelines. Then about 2 weeks before everything changed, my manager called me into his office. He told me they were cutting hours. Starting next month, I'd only be working 12 hours a week. 12 hours. That's barely $100. I couldn't even pay rent with that. I asked if there was anything I could do, any way to get more hours. He just shook his head and said it was a corporate decision. Nothing personal. I walked out of that office, got in my car, and just sat there. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there staring at the steering wheel, feeling completely defeated. That's when something inside me broke. Not in a bad way, in a necessary way. Like something had been holding me back and it finally snapped. I remember thinking, I can't live like this anymore. I won't live like this anymore. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I had to do something, anything, because staying where I was, that wasn't an option anymore. That night I couldn't sleep. I just lay there staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. I picked up my phone and started scrolling YouTube. I don't even remember what I was looking for. Maybe a distraction, maybe hope. I don't know, but then I came across a video. The title was something like How I Make $5,000 a Month Freelancing. Normally, I would have scrolled right past it. I'd seen videos like that before. I always thought they were scams. Fake gurus trying to sell courses. But that night I had nothing to lose, so I clicked. The guy in the video wasn't what I expected. No Lamborghini, no mansion, no flashy lifestyle. Just a normal dude sitting in his bedroom talking into a camera. He told his story. How he'd been working a dead-end job, barely making ends meet. How he started learning skills online for free. How he got his first client. How he slowly built up his income until he was making more freelancing than he ever did at his job. And the crazy part, he wasn't trying to sell me anything. He was just sharing his story, being real, being honest. I watched that video 3 times. Then I watched 10 more videos, then 20. I stayed up until 4 in the morning taking notes, researching, learning. I learned about freelancing. I learned that people all over the world were hiring freelancers online for writing, design, video editing, social media management, all kinds of stuff. And I learned that you didn't need experience to start. You just needed to be willing to learn and work hard. By the time the sun came up, I had a plan. It wasn't a perfect plan, but it was something. And something was better than the nothing I had before. I decided I was going to learn copywriting, writing sales content for businesses. It didn't require expensive software or a fancy camera, just words. And I could write. I signed up for Upwork. I started watching free YouTube tutorials on copywriting. I read blog articles. I studied examples. I taught myself everything I could. And then on day one, I created my profile. I sat there staring at the blank bio section, not knowing what to write. How do you sell yourself when you have zero experience? I must have rewritten that bio 20 times. But eventually I just wrote something honest, something simple. I said I was a detail-oriented writer focused on helping businesses connect with their audience. It wasn't flashy, but it was real. And I hit save. Then came the hard part, finding clients. For the first week I applied to every single copywriting job I could find on Upwork. Most of them paid almost nothing. $10 for a 500-word article, $15 for product descriptions, but I didn't care. I just needed someone to give me a chance. I sent proposal after proposal. I spent hours crafting each one, making sure it was personalized, professional, and showed that I actually cared. Day 1, 10 proposals sent. 0 responses. Day 2, 15 more proposals. 1 rejection. Day 3, 20 proposals. All rejections or silence. By day 7, I'd sent over 60 proposals, and I had nothing to show for it. Not a single client. Not even a reply that wasn't an auto-rejection. I'm not gonna lie. I thought about quitting. I thought maybe this was just another dead end. Maybe I wasn't good enough. Maybe I was wasting my time. But then I remembered where I was a week ago. Sitting in my car after getting my hours cut, feeling hopeless. And I thought, what's the alternative? Go back to that? No. I'd rather fail trying than give up without even fighting, so I kept going. Day 8, more proposals. Day 9, more rejections. Day 10, nothing. Then on day 11, I woke up to an email notification. The subject line said, "I'd like to hire you." I sat up so fast I almost dropped my phone. I opened the email, hands shaking. It was from a small business owner who needed 2 blog posts written. $20 total. $10 per post. $20, that's it. But to me in that moment it felt like $1 million. I wrote back immediately. Told him I'd love to work with him and asked when he needed the posts done. He replied within an hour. Said he needed them in 3 days. I spent the next 2 days working on those blog posts like my life depended on them. I researched. I outlined. I wrote. I rewrote. I edited. I made sure every sentence was perfect. On day 3, I submitted the posts. Then I waited. The next morning, I got a notification. Payment received, $20. I stared at my phone. My bank balance went from $8 to $28. I know that sounds pathetic. I know $20 isn't life-changing. But in that moment it meant everything because it was proof. Proof that this could work. Proof that I could earn money with my skills. Proof that I wasn't stuck anymore. I took a screenshot of that payment and saved it. I made it my phone wallpaper. Because every time I doubted myself I wanted to remember I did that. I earned that. Nobody gave it to me. By the end of month 1, I'd made $127 total. Not enough to live on, not even close, but it was progress. Real, measurable progress. And that was enough to keep going. Month 2 was all about repetition. Write, submit, get feedback, improve, repeat. I worked 12 to 14 hours a day. I'd wake up, go straight to my laptop and work until my eyes hurt. I took on every project I could, even the low-paying ones, just to build my portfolio and get reviews. Slowly, things started to change. I got my first 5-star review. Then another. Then another. Clients started reaching out to me instead of me always chasing them. I started getting repeat customers. People who liked my work and wanted to hire me again. By the end of month 2, I'd made $826. Still not enough to quit my part-time job. But I was getting closer. Then in month 3, something big happened. I got on a call with a potential client, a marketing agency that needed ongoing blog content. They asked about my rates. I'd been charging $15 to $20 per article. But this time I took a breath and said 50. There was a pause. I thought I'd blown it. But then the client said, "That works. We'd like to hire you for 10 articles a month. $500 every single month. Guaranteed." I stayed calm on the call, professional. But the second I hung up, I jumped out of my chair and celebrated like I'd just won the lottery. That retainer changed everything. It gave me stability. It gave me confidence. And it gave me proof that I could charge what I was worth. By the end of month 3, I'd made over $1,600. I paid my rent on time. I bought real groceries. I even called my dad back and told him what I was doing. He was proud. And that meant more to me than any dollar amount. Month 4, I hit $3,000. I raised my rates again, started turning down low-paying work, focused only on high-value clients who respected my time and skills. I wasn't just freelancing anymore. I was running a business. And for the first time in my life, I felt in control. Month 5, I made almost $7,000. I couldn't believe it. 6 months earlier, I had $8. Now I was making more in a month than I used to make in 3. I moved into a better apartment. I bought a real desk and a second monitor. I started working out again, eating better, sleeping better. I felt like a different person. And then came month 6. I remember the day I hit $10,000 in a single month. I was sitting in a coffee shop working on a project when I got a payment notification. I opened my income tracker and there it was, $10,847. I just stared at the screen. I refreshed it thinking maybe it was a mistake, but no, it was real. I closed my laptop, leaned back in my chair and just took it in. 6 months. That's all it took. 6 months from $8 to over $10,000 a month. I wasn't special. I didn't have some secret advantage. I didn't have connections or rich parents or a fancy degree that mattered. I just started and I didn't quit. People always ask me, how did you do it? What's the secret? There's no secret. It's simple, not easy, but simple. I learned a skill that people were willing to pay for. I offered that skill online. I worked hard. I stayed consistent. I improved every single day. And I didn't give up when things got hard. That's it. That's the whole formula. You don't need a fancy job. You don't need a college degree. You don't need money to start. You just need a laptop, an internet connection, and the willingness to put in the work. The opportunities are out there. Freelancing platforms like Upwork, Fiverr, and Freelancer are full of people looking to hire. Businesses need writers, designers, video editors, virtual assistants, social media managers. The demand is huge, and the skills, you can learn them for free. YouTube, Google, free courses, it's all out there. You just have to take the time to learn. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. It's not. There will be rejections, there will be late nights. There will be moments when you want to quit. I had all of those moments. But if you push through, if you stay consistent, if you keep showing up even when it's hard, you will see results. 6 months. That's what it took me. Maybe it'll take you 4 months. Maybe it'll take you 8. Everyone's journey is different. But the point is, it's possible. Looking back now, the money wasn't even the biggest change. Yeah, going from broke to $10,000 a month was incredible. It changed my life in practical ways. I could pay my bills without stress. I could buy groceries without checking my bank account first. I could breathe. But the real transformation was internal. 6 months ago, I felt like a failure. I felt invisible. I felt like I was falling behind while everyone else was moving forward. Today, I feel in control. I feel confident. I feel like I'm finally building the life I always wanted. I'm not working for someone else anymore. I'm not trading hours for dollars. I'm not waiting for someone to give me permission to succeed. I built this. With my own hands, my own effort, my own determination, and if I can do it, you can too. I don't care where you're starting from. I don't care if you're broke right now. I don't care if you feel stuck or lost or like you've already wasted too much time. It doesn't matter. What matters is what you do next. 6 months from now, you could be in a completely different place. You could be making more money than you ever thought possible. You could be working from anywhere you want. You could be in control of your own life, but only if you start. Only if you take that first step. Only if you decide right now that you're done being stuck. The tools are out there. The opportunities are out there. The only question is, are you willing to do the work? So here's what I want you to take away from this. You don't need a fancy job to make $10,000 a month. You don't need a degree. You don't need connections. You don't need money to start. You just need a skill, a platform, and the discipline to keep going even when it's hard. 6 months ago, I was completely broke. I was scared. I was ashamed. I didn't know if things would ever get better, but I made a decision. I decided I was done waiting for life to happen to me. I was going to make it happen, and that decision changed everything. If you're watching this right now and you're struggling, if you're broke, if you're tired of barely surviving, let this be your wake-up call. You have everything you need to change your life. You just have to start. Pick a skill. Learn it, offer it, get your first client, then your second, then your third. Build momentum, stay consistent, and don't quit. 6 months. That's all it takes. 6 months of focused effort, 6 months of discipline, 6 months of showing up every single day. And your life will never be the same, so the only question left is, will you start today, or will you be in the same place 6 months from now, wishing you had? The choice is yours.